Are you ready?
Well, that wasn't confusing at all.
Anytime you get stuff where there's in county versus out of state, it just,
No, it's all.
there's just so many rules that just kind of
And Judge, I'm
clears mud.
No, I know. I've seen those issues and have dealt with just enough to know I don't enjoy them.
Is our guy on docket today?
No, well, he's on docket, but he's here present in court. He made bond, so that, I guess that gets rid of the issue about having to
Coming up.
BVR.
Last name again is?
Gomez, and it's Matthew Gomez. You may have a couple on the docket. And did invite us to rehear PC this morning. The case I know is 183 days old. I have talked with the state. They're still trying to work with felony to see if they would approve him to do a mental health PTI, which we thought was appropriate.
Mental health in the case upstairs or our case?
Yes.
Are you ready for a PC? Blaze?
So, Your Honor, I think RJ was just reading of it. I didn't know if you want the actual officer here or not.
No. This is just cursory, but I want to know if you're ready for any arguments or whatnot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're not addressing the new one whatsoever.
Yeah.
No. That's
told you.
Tell me. Go for it. Alex, please.
On August 25th, 2024, the officer was dispatched to a complaint unknown call at Harris County, Texas, with a call slip stating the following. The caller was rambling and refused to answer questions. The caller advised he has warrants for arrest and wants police to pick him up before he does something. The caller states he will be waiting outside the location for police. The caller was irate and upset. The caller was making threats towards police, stating they better be strong because he was going to fight and don't dispatch female officers. The officer arrived on scene and immediately noticed the defendant coming out of his house in an aggressive manner. The defendant took off his shirt and hat and was coming towards the officer quickly and was trying to get the officer to physically fight him. The defendant repeatedly stated he wanted the officer to fight him, and the officers immediately drew their tasers and began giving the defendant verbal commands. The defendant repeatedly refused to comply with the verbal commands and continued telling the officer and his partner to put their tasers away so they could fight him. The officer took the defendant to the ground by tackling him and used force to put the defendant's hands behind his back. The defendant was physically resisting and yelling the entire time. The officer then got the defendant into handcuffs and moved him to the side of the patrol vehicle. The officer's partner held the defendant against the vehicle while the officer conducted a search. The defendant was still refusing to comply with verbal commands and was physically resisting. The officer then assisted the defendant into the patrol vehicle using the minimal amount of force necessary, and the defendant was kicking the officer's legs and still refusing to comply.
Did they find anything? You said they searced, but they didn't find anything?
There's no notes, no finding anything or completing the search, and they only know that they arrested him on the warrants as well as the additional resistance charge.
What did he have?
He had municipal.
I'll give you a second.
Municipal warrants, Your Honor.
Just municipal?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, but I think a couple things are, and I know that's the DA's summary of the longer dims. And the longer dims notes reflect that when the officers got to the scene where they had been asked to come out and make an arrest and or been asked to come out and told there's warrants, but they get there and they don't have a chance to confirm anything or find out who he is or any of that stuff. But what's written in their longer dims report, the officers write down, he asked us to put our tasers away and fight him. And so it says in there that the officers made the decision to put their tasers away and go hands-on with him. And so that is...
You're saying, you're telling me that they agreed to fight him?
That's what they wrote.
Can you imagine how much possible trouble they would get if they would agree to something like that?
And I don't think that it's agree to fight him in the sense that, I'm not saying the officers did anything wrong whatsoever. I'm saying when you arrive on the scene and somebody says, I have warrants, we know that's not enough as a legal matter to make an arrest. I could walk up and say, I've got warrants to our deputy. I can't be arrested for that. Maybe he can go back and find out more information, but that's not enough.
I think that's reasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the conduct is not that he comes up and starts fighting with the officers, but invites them to engage in physical contact. And I give them credit for putting their tasers away like he requested, but they write in there, we did exactly what he said. We put our tasers away and then decided to go hands-on with the suspect. It's 2-on-1.
But I don't think the reasonable interpretation would be that they are agreeing to fight.
Well,
I don't think that that's reasonable because imagine how much trouble they would get in, you know? They'd be fired.
To me, it's not about whether no one over here, and I don't think the state is either, is saying that the officers did anything wrong. I think we're assessing his conduct, and he has the right, as does anybody, it's just First Amendment protected speech, to invite someone to engage in physical conduct. And if they do, that's not him resisting arrest. And I don't really even think that that's the kind of the basis of the charge. They can't even arrest him because there's nothing to arrest him for at that moment. If you ran his name and found out the warrants and found out he did have active warrants, you could arrest him. But there's nothing for them to even arrest him for at that moment. And just walking up and saying, hey, I want to fight you, that's not enough to be placed under arrest. But what happens is they get him and get control of him and then start searching him. But pursuant to what? I mean, there's nothing. They still haven't verified him.
No, I think that it's so difficult to be a police officer nowadays, you know?
I understand.
A fine line that you have to walk between because of social media,
Sure.
because of cameras, because of just the way that the public policy and people come down on officers and how they react to situations and how they can get in trouble themselves. That if you see a person who's not acting normal, they're having like a mental health episode. How do you quell that down? Do you tase them? Because we know that we've got situations where officers go rogue and they just start kill them.
No, well, we've seen it too many times. And
it sucks. It's sad, but.
And I'm not criticizing the officers one bit about that. If it's the case that he tells them, when you get here, I want to fight. And when they get there, he says, I want to fight. And put your tasers up and fight me. And they put their tasers up and decide to go hands-on with him. I respect them for having done it.
I would like to know, because I'm not prepared to rule on this. What I would like to know is, what is the policy of the department when you have a person who's having a mental health episode? How do you handle that? Do you arrest them as like a community caretaking, right? Because in an effort to prevent them from hurting themselves or hurting another person, do you arrest them, right? Or what do you do? Because I don't know. So, because that's what's happening here. We have someone clearly who's having a mental health episode.
And you see why I thought mental health PTI is the appropriate route.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So, and I don't mind being patient while you think about that, and I go back and.
I'd like to know what the officer's mindset, number one, at the time of when this episode is happening. Number two, what is the policy when you have this kind of thing happening? What do you do?
Absolutely.
I don't know. You know?
Sure.
Do you arrest them in an effort to prevent them from hurting themselves? Because who's to say they might have a gun that you don't know about that's stuck right here that they're just gonna start shooting?
Well, but I do think that it doesn't mean that he has done something legally wrong to elicit the words, this is what I'd like to do, and wait. It'd be one thing if he comes and starts attacking them, but to say, put your tasers up and fight me, and they say, taser up. We go hands on. Hands on for what?
I think that was extremely brave of the officers.
Well,
I give them so much credit because, I mean, who's to say that he doesn't have a gun behind his back and they just don't know, and they're trusting him that he's going to act honorably and not take a gun from behind and kill him.
I think it's what they said, Your Honor. They actually used less force than
Yeah,
would have been.
really. God, that was freaking awesome.
Again, this is not criticism whatsoever.
Yeah, I understand.
But
I
the
understand.
question is, what legally did he do wrong in that moment? One, to support a detention. Two, to allow for an arrest. And I don't know that there's enough for that. Or either one of those. It may be enough to, I mean, I don't know if I walked up to our bailiff and said I have warrants, if that's enough for him to even detain me. I mean, there's just no corroboration whatsoever.
So if you have someone that's coming up to you and threatening to assault you, right? Is that a crime?
Well, yes, but that's not the
There
same.
you go.
Well, no, that's not the same thing, Judge, because I can walk up to somebody and say, hey, would you like to fight? And that's different. That's not threatening to
You
assault.
have to take the circumstances into account. There's a totality here. You
Well-
can't just take the statement in and of itself. The person's having a mental health episode.
Sure.
They're irate, right? You don't know what they're capable. You've never met them before. If I know you and you ask me to fight, that's a different question.
Well, but I don't know.
Versus I've never met him.
Turns on.
He's got warrants. He may have a freaking murder warrant out.
Sure. Well, but
They
in
know
order
about
to-
it because it's on the call slip.
well, they know that he said that.
Okay.
They hadn't verified it.
I understand, but it's still there and it's still in their mind. Damn, this guy's, there's a crisis here. How do we avert this crisis from happening?
And I respect that portion of it for sure. But from analyzing whether or not there's probable cause to support the elements of this charge, I think that's where our focus really is at.
There's so many like branches to this thing. I can't possibly rule right now.
No, fair enough. And I appreciate that.
And I think just from the state's perspective, I know that we wanting a little more information on, I respect that. I think you have, just looking at the totality of the circumstances here, you have a call slip that says someone is, I think what the exact thing was,
Yes, warrants.
rambling and refusing to answer questions. He's advising he has warrants for his arrest and wants someone to pick him up before he does something. States he's waiting outside. He was irate, making threats towards people. They, at the bare minimum, have someone that could be a danger to themselves or others. They go out, and I know this is somewhat peculiar to say, but he approaches them in an aggressive manner with his shirt off, saying, "Come on and fight me." I would argue at the bare minimum, they have the right to detain him. A, to confirm those warrants, because they can't confirm those warrants without actually speaking to him, getting his ID, that kind of thing. B, then there's saying, "Come on and fight me," to a uniformed police officer. I know you're not ready.
There's just too much. There's too much.
That's,
Well,
You're incapable of verifying the warrants because of the episode that's happening. So
but the actual charge in terms of the elements of this case are that he resisted a search being effected at the end of the fight. And all I saw there with respect to that portion.
Tension already building in the courtroom. This case is walking a tightrope between mental health concerns and legal authority. Can a simple challenge to put the tasers away and fight really become a criminal issue? Let's unpack the drama.
Of it was totally conclusory. And so that's where we think the PC falls apart on the element side of just this particular charging issue. And, but I want to again make it abundantly clear that we're not criticizing the officers whatsoever.
I know you. I get, no one is
It is a complicated situation.
taking it in any,
But we did think, and that's why the case has gotten to be 180 days old. I think we're at 182 right now, is because I've been trying to find out more and trying to work to get him approved for the mental health PTI, because that kind of
is now
fits.
what happened upstairs going to throw a wrench in it?
Yes, it has currently. They're going to reapproach felony and see if they'll still allow us to go down that route. But I think it's really the most appropriate route. And I'm not going to go into that case upstairs, but the allegation in that case, and I think legislature's made that a second-degree felony, if I'm not mistaken, assault of a peace officer. But the allegation is that his thumb.
Second degree.
Wow, the legislature made it a second degree now?
Yes, Judge.
Yep. And
Yeah, holy moly.
And I understand.
Wow.
But the allegation upstairs is, and I know there's different components to that whole fact pattern, but the allegation made the basis of the assault is that when they were trying to reposition his handcuffs, his elbow hit the officer's thumb. So it's not.
Oh, I thought here when they were reading it, they were saying like he was kicking and screaming and kind of
On
like,
the older case, Your Honor, he was. On the newer assault case is whenever they tried to put restraints on him, he pulled away and struck the officer's thumb with his elbow. That's for the felony, Your Honor.
it'll be interesting to see if there's body cam to see what the nature of that
Sure.
pull was, right? Because that's ultimately, the case lives and dies on probably that,
But
right?
from my perspective, and I hope that felony is in agreement with this when they learn kind of more about it, and it's a brand new case for them. But when they learn more about it, I hope that everyone agrees that
Sure.
if
I think-
there's mental health issues, then we solve that problem. So this young man isn't back here. And if he gets
We're
resources.
very lucky, my friend. Very lucky. People have died for a lot less. You got to be very careful in today's society. People have, you never know who has a gun. I have, you know what? I have a friend of mine that had a person that was road raging behind him just because he wasn't driving fast enough. The guy comes out, gets a knife and stabs him. Did nothing just because he was driving slow. You never know who you're going to run into these days, man. It just, you run into the wrong person for a lot less, they'll shoot your ass dead. Got to be careful, man.
And the advice that I've heard you say it in different ways is don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. And
Life's just too short, man. You know, you get one crack at it. Once it's gone, it's gone. Just, all right. I'll do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
I'm not ready to rule in it yet.
fair enough. But I do think also I was asked to get bond conditions put in place while he's on a new bond. And what I'd like is the same old bond conditions. Don't
What do we have now?
be a new offense. Don't consume alcohol or
Just be good. You know, 99% people lose self-control. That's why they're in jail.
Yes, sir.
No self-control. You got to think, if I do this, what's going to happen? If I say this, what's going to happen? You got maybe a nanosecond to think about it, but that's going to stop. That's what makes you mature. Look at all those freaking old guys in there. Never grew up. Never grew up. And they'll never grow. Yeah, I'll stick with the same bond conditions. Just no alcohol, no dope. Don't use, man. You know, is he taking any medication now?
No.
Okay, just be careful, man. Self-control. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Just stay in touch. All will be good.
Yeah, it's been great contacting me, Joe.
Okay, I believe it. Okay, Mr. Gomez, good luck.
Thank you as always. Thank you guys.
Your Honor, I am here on Mr. Enrique Rodriguez. I received email from pretrial services stating that my client, Mr. Enrique Rodriguez, failed to go and to pretrial service and pick up the portable device.
Is Mr. Rodriguez here now?
Yes, sir. He's here, Judge. Mr. Rodriguez, come forward, please. I think he was supposed to get it by 1:13:25.
You don't have the devices we ordered you to do?
No, sir. I have a letter from the State Department of Transportation in Austin saying I am
No,
not allowed
no.
to drive a car, so I figured I didn't have to get it. So I can't drive. I didn't know. After I said I can't drive, why should I get it? And then
Because I ordered you to get it. And now I'm revoking your bond and I'm putting you in jail because you've been a whole month without having it. You decide on your own? Courts don't work like that. It goes with you.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, Mr. Kim's on Zoom. I'm approaching, I've spoken with my client. My client would like me to approach to ask for a bond so he could go and turn himself into the demanding jurisdiction, Worcester County, Maryland. And so
What's the last name?
his last name is Mr. Baptiste, P-A-P.
Good morning, Mr. Baptiste.
How you doing?
So I don't know, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you're wanted for. I don't know what kind of criminal history you have.
Mm.
A lot of times, whether we give a bond to someone depends on what they're charged with, what kind of criminal history they have.
Mhm.
I know that you're going to tell me it's little bunnies jumping in the woods, but everybody tells me this guy's purple,
Understand that?
blue, black. So, but paper really tells me who you are because that's how we get to know you in the short time that we have.
No problem.
Mr. Kim, would you like to tell me about him?
Your Honor, he's wanted out of Yavapai County, Arizona for 6 charges, including fraudulent schemes and artifices.
Wrong case.
Oh, hey,
Wrong case.
Oh, sorry, wrong case. He's wanted out of Pasco, Florida for battery
Oh,
prior.
Wrong case. Wrong case.
0 for 2, man.
Where are the ones?
Baptiste.
Maryland.
Hold on 1 second, please. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I was reading a different warrant. Okay, he's wanted out of Worcester County, Maryland for theft, but he's wanted out of 6 charges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 charges, including fraudulently intending another's identity to use that information to obtain a value of item and currency totaling a little north of $80,000. He's currently on a deferred adjudication for an aggravated assault. And prior to entering in the deferred adjudication, but after he was charged, he was also charged with carrying a handgun in a motor vehicle. State would be opposed to a bond, Judge.
So, okay, you went kind of fast on, so he has 6 open charges in Maryland or just 2?
Yes, so he has one count of $21,455.50. He has another count of $10,700. He has another count of $10,695.50. Another count of $42,851. One count of fraudulently intending a possession of personally identifying information, and another of fraudulently intending to obtain another item of or identity, assuming an identity of another individual to obtain an item of value.
Are all these, is it like a theft from a person?
It was a fictitious wire transfer for at least one of them. I'm looking at the affidavits. One is routed through PNC
Do we have
Bank.
actual complaining witnesses or victims, especially on the one that's like a 40,000 gig?
That one I can hold on. Here's an account withdrawal. I mean, I can't tell if it's from the bank or from another. If I could just have 30 seconds, I'll take a look at the.
And how old are these cases? Are they new or are they old?
These are relatively new, Judge. This one is from June of 2023. So obviously it was after he entered in the deferred adjudication for the aggravated assault. Obviously violating his conditions of the aggravated assault. Let
me tell you the problem that I have, Mr. Baptiste. And the way you conduct yourselves in court and the way that you conduct yourself while you're on probation tells me a lot of who you are and whether you will submit and comply with court orders. Because one of the things that we have is when I give you a bond, you have to go turn yourself in to the demanding jurisdiction within 2 weeks.
That's no problem.
Great. Well, the first thing I did was I wanted to look through your history with the probation that you're on. And in the first thing that I pulled up in this bond violation report, I have here, 5th violation report submitted for failing to report to the bond unit as scheduled. This is the alleged probation that you're on.
That was waived.
Stop.
Okay.
I don't want you to explain anything.
I know.
The only thing I'm trying to impart to you is the way that you've been on your probation and the fact that you've picked up the 6 cases in Maryland in 23 or 24, whatever it is, and the amount that it is, tells me that it scares me to give you a bond because I don't think that you will comply. And it's unfortunate because I don't like to keep people in, but the reality is paper tells me who you are. And all those bond violation reports, the 6 new cases.
That's
Sorry.
one things, if I may, the
Sure.
6 cases, it doesn't make a distinction whether there's 6 separate transactions or it's all one happening at one time. And so he hasn't been able to answer for that. This is only from 2023. He would like an opportunity to do so. He is going to work out his felony case when he gets there. Up there tomorrow, he's going to have a chance to work it out. I don't know if he'll be able to work it out or not, but it's his first opportunity to do so tomorrow. If he makes bond up there, would you consider giving a bond then? No.
It's just the way that the probation has played out.
Okay.
And the fact that he has 6 here, I think in my heart of hearts, if I set you a bond, that it's just, you're not going to show up. You're going to do what you want to do because that's what history tells us.
Okay.
Sorry.
I understand you. Thank you.
Okay.
One question. Would you mind explaining to me?
This is not, no. This isn't where you get to do what you want to do.
Let's go. All right. Thank
You
you.
can ask your lawyer, and then if it's